Hello everyone, welcome back to the 4th episode. So this episode's going to be quite a long one. So we will be learning how to create parts in a script, and we will be learning functions. So you can actually create any object value in a script, but today we'll be only focusing on parts. So the way you can create an object value in a script is by doing instance with a capital I dot new, and then with parentheses and quotation marks you type in part, which is the object value you want to create. So now we have a part that we created. But now if you want to actually mess around with it, you have to assign it to a variable. So we can do local part equals instance.new part. So now we have created an entire new part. However, when you run the code, as you can see, there's no part. Well, I'll tell you why that happens. So we didn't change the part's properties at all, so it didn't have a parent. And only parts that are the parent of workspace, or anything that is in workspace, like if a part's inside like another part, that's fine. But if one of its ancestors is workspace, then it'll be shown. But it's not. So if you go back to the script, you have to do part.parent. We're assigning the parent. We're going to make it game.workspace. So now that it's game.workspace, when you run the code, as you can see, there's a part. You've spawned a part in with the code. So that's basically how you spawn in parts. And if you want to, you can change the values of the part in the script. As if you run the code, and then you change the property of the part to be red, and you stop it, and you run it back, it's not red anymore because it's a different part. So that's basically how you can create new parts. You can change the part.color equals color3.new. You can make it like 100, which is red. New part.anchored equals true, which makes it anchored. You can do part.material equals neon. And then if you run it, as you can see, you just spawned. Hold on. We have to. So this is a classic case of a common error. You need the equal sign. So even advanced scripters make errors at some points. So we have spawned in the part. As you can see, it's kind of in the ground. We haven't changed its position. So if we do part.position equals vector3.new, and then the position, which I guess we'll have it be at 0, 15, 0. So now if you run it, instead of it being inside the ground, it is above the ground. So you can do this in many ways. And let's say if you want to create another part on top of it, you can duplicate this and then make this like 18. But you have to change this to part 2. Otherwise, it'd be confusing because you might be changing this part. You have to make sure it's part 2. And if you run it, as you see, there are 2 parts. But there has to be a more efficient way than just duplicating this by highlighting it, Control-C, and now Control-V. There must be a more efficient way of doing that. Well, there is. If we delete these, so this is the basic one. So this is where we lead into functions. So you can do, you can type in function, and the name of the function will be create part. Then you do parentheses. Then you press enter. Then you can see this end, as this is a block of code. You highlight it all. You highlight all the code. And then you do Control X, which deletes it and copies it, and you go inside here, and then you paste it. So, whenever you run create part, it will spawn in a part. So, if you're confused on what happens, so nothing happens inside the function until we call the function. So if we basically just deleted this, as you can see, nothing will happen, as the function is not run. The way you call the function is by typing the name and then the parentheses at the end. And then when you run it, it creates the part. So what's happening in the code is it reads the lines, it skips over the function, and then it goes to create part, then it notices the function, then it does the code and the function, creates the part, and assigns the properties of the part. But now let's say you want it to be in a different position. You can assign this argument to be y position. And then you can replace 15 with y position. So now, let's say you put 15 here. So what this is doing, this is taking this parameter and it is putting it in here. So, since we inputted 15, y position is now 15. So this is 15. If we make it 25, then it'll be 25. So that way, if we duplicate this a bunch of times, we can do 25, 35, 45, and 55. And then when you run it, as you can see, there's one at 25, there's one at 35, there's one at 45, and there's one at 55. That is a way more efficient way of doing that. And there's an even more efficient way using loops, which is getting back into our other tutorial. So, I'm going to create a variable called part count. I'm going to make it 10, okay? And then, I'm going to make another variable, and then I'm going to make a loop, like, under the function. So the reason why I'm making a loop under the function and not over it, because if you do create part, it won't work because the function is declared down here, and it has to be declared above. Well, it has to be declared below. It has to be declared below the function for it to actually work. So, you can go ahead and make a loop. You can do while, and then you can do part count is less than part count is greater than 1, so while part count is greater than 1, it will run this, it'll loop this. So, what we want to do is, in the loop, out here, in the loop, so I'm going to do, it's going to call create part, and then the y position is going to be part count times 15, which the time symbol is the asterisk, so it's part count times 15. And then we can do, at the end of the loop, part count, so it minus equals 1, so it takes 1 away from part count, and you can do wait 1.5. So if we run the code, as you can see, it's creating them. It's creating them from top to down. It's creating them. So it's repeatedly running the function and it's creating them. So that is how you can use functions to make your code more efficient. And then you can just change their part count to be like 50. So let's say you want 50 parts. And then you change this to be X position. And then you just make that like 15. And then you change this to be X position. Then you say, like, let's say you make it 5. and then you change the weight to be 0.1, and then you make this 100. So it's going to create 100 parts that's going to go along the x-axis. As you can see if we run it. And it is. It's creating 100 parts that run along the x-axis over here.
Hey babe, I talked to Tiffany. Wyatt will be here around 2 because that's when Tiffany can drop him off.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, are you ready for lunch?
Hold on, I'm recording a video.
Oh, I'll come back. Okay, I'll come back.
I am now.
You okay, Bubbles?
Yeah.
Oh, well then let me just take this.
Alright guys, I'm sorry, I'm back. So, this creates all of these parts along the x-axis. And you can create more than one parameter. Let's say you do material, and then you do comma, and then the material you want. Let's say you want it to be plastic. Then you have to go to material, and then we have to change it to be material. So when there's these up here, you can basically use them like variables, but this is where we assign the values of the variables. So if we run it, then as you can see, they're now plastic. So it works. So that's the end of this tutorial on about functions and other things. So, bye.